Hey you guys, and welcome to American Culture. So today's video is slightly personal, but since I make YouTube, I figure out why not put it out there like that. With that being said, I'm going to try to discuss why I kind of cut my mom out of my life and what her raising me did to me in my childhood into my young adulthood. First and foremost, I really felt like I was a burden pretty much my entire life. Like I was some type of problem that she didn't want to have anything to do with. There was no birthday parties. There was no going to the park. There was no going to the movies. There was never asking me what I wanted to do. No encouraging me to join any type of school programs, nothing like that. It wasn't until I got older that I really began to feel like she just didn't like me as a person. Now, you guys, that led to me having low self-esteem, confidence issues, constantly being in relationships where I would give, and get nothing in return because, again, she never showed me love. At the age of 14, she told me I wasn't allowed to hug her anymore because I had boobs, and gave me no reason for that. But it turned into this massive feeling of rejection that I would try to people please my way to not experience. And this was up until in my 30s. It wasn't until I started to wake up and realize, wait a minute, this isn't how life is supposed to be, and was able to fix myself. With that being said, one of the things that I realized was that my mom was carrying out the resentment she had for herself and putting it on me. Modern day terminology, we call it scapegoating. It's actually biblical, you guys. If you read Leviticus, in the Old Testament, the way that they would atone for their sins is by putting them on the head of a goat and sending it out into the wilderness. And ironically, that's what I did. When I decided to just cut her off, I said, you know what, Ram, you're right. I'm this evil person. I'm so mean. I'm so that. I'm going over here and don't talk to me. Leave me alone. I cannot comprehend why you would call me Satan and then come ask me how I'm doing. It makes no sense. And that was the last thing that I said to her. One of the other things that I had a conversation about her with was, did you ever really enjoy being my mom? Because it seems as though you can't tell me anything you did for me that didn't involve your suffering and your sacrifice. And you see, that's the thing about a lot of parents. They don't really know what love is. Their entire life has been nothing but what they think is suffering, what they think is sacrifice. My mom, it came from the fact that her family dynamic that she doesn't speak of, but it came from her being the only one that was divorced, having a baby outside of her marriage, then bringing said child into her marital home where the guy wasn't too nice about it. I did not know that her lack of wanting to engage with me was due to her resentment for self. And that's what led to all this scapegoating. That's what led to her blaming me for things, gossiping about me, lying and saying things telling people I said things I didn't say, lying and telling people that I did things I didn't do, diminishing all of my accomplishments. This woman had the audacity to even try to convince people, I don't really think she's a nurse. I didn't invite her or even go to my nursing school graduation because I knew nobody would come because my mom never came to anything for me. My first day of moving into college, I asked her to come help me, and she said, do I have to? Because she didn't want to miss out on the $8 she would have been making that day. So I was the only person moving into the University of Oklahoma without a single family member support. And like I said, that was something that I carried through my entire life. The woman couldn't even get up on time to watch me be baptized. So that behavior of I resent having to care for you traveled all the way into my adulthood. And you see, the thing is, what happens is a lot of times, especially in childhood, when you're going through it, you have no idea that that's what's taking place. A lot of parents are upset about what their life choices have created for them. They're upset about their marriages. They're upset about their relationships. They're upset about their credit score. They're upset. And they just feed that upsetness to their children. And it comes off as, well, you don't love me. You don't support me. You don't care for me, because you're really not. You're so busy saying everything that you do for somebody is built off suffering and sacrifice, but what have you done that was actually built off love? Like I said, that was one of the things that I asked my mom before I cut her off. I was like, well, what did you do for me that was done out of pure enjoyment, pure inspiration, pure love? Because it's like every time that she talks about something that she did for me, it requires some type of suffering. There are a lot of parents out there now. You want to take your kids on vacation, but you're constantly talking about how much it costs and how much time and how you didn't have this and what you had to do in order to make it happen. It overshadows the fact that you're doing this because you enjoy them and you want them to have certain experiences. We very rarely tell people, I'm proud of you, or ask them, what kind of things are you interested in now? It doesn't happen because, again, your life is built off suffering and sacrifice. My mother did that to me all the way up until adulthood, and that's why the scapegoating became out of control. It got to a point to when I was finally old enough to like take her on vacation and go do something. It was constantly, no, don't want it, can't do that. She didn't want good experiences from me because she had built an entire life off of having a bad one, a bad experience I never gave her. So yeah, you guys, it affected me. Her behavior, of her unforgiveness for herself, for her being unhappy about her life choices, really, it zapped my confidence away, put me into dysfunctional dating dynamics. I didn't treat myself very well. Had no idea what actual love was. It was hard to give something you've never received, because a lot of times you got to get it first and then it goes out. That's even the way that God works. He's a vessel. He gives us stuff and it comes through us. And so if we're not really getting love based off of encouragement, we're not really getting love based off of inspiration, then it's hard to give that back to somebody. I was talking to somebody about this just the other day about text messages. That is a sign of I love you. So can you respond to that? Well, a lot of times if you don't ever receive it as somebody saying I'm interested in being a part of your life, because nobody says I'm interested in being a part of your life, you're not going to. So yeah, I really did have to work in my adulthood to undo the self-hatred and the self-doubt that I had, because I really did think that I was a problem. I really did think that I was some type of burden. I really did think that I was going to have to suffer and do. I wasn't good enough my entire life because of the way that my mother raised me. So like I said, the more I talk about my parental dynamic, the more adults are like, yeah, I have the same thing going on with mine. I barely see her. And it kind of helps us all uncover the real root of why this happened. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with you, the child, and everything to do with them not liking the decisions that they made and how they lived that out in your presence. My mother's resentment for her own decisions led to an overall resentment of me that eventually turned into scapegoating, where somehow I was to blame for all of her sins and problems. To the day I said, you know what, you're right, goodbye. And I hope that a lot of people, they kind of can fix their dynamic before it gets to a point where I can't deal with you, Satan, when it comes to talking to their parents. But sometimes that's what it takes. So again, you guys, I hope that this helps you to understand that your parents really do think that life is about suffering and sacrifice. They're mad at their own decisions and upset about that. They are living that out through you. It happens. It doesn't mean some of them, they don't dislike you, but they don't know that they're not showing you that they actually do like you. Have a blessed day, you guys.